welcome to WVU Football Going Deep, the channel for fans who like to think as well as cheer. I assume you are here because you want to know exactly what's going on with the coaching search, who it is, why it is, and what it means. Well, a whole lot of people would like to know that. If anybody does, it's Wren Baker. Not entirely sure that he does yet, but sure as heck isn't talking to anyone else in the media. Certainly not to me. His response would be, who? All right. But what is happening? What's the chatter? What's the gossip? What are the maybes, the might not be's, and the who's, the why's, and the whatnot? Now, I'll get to that as soon as I say this is Forrest Poston. And Wren Baker says, who? And so do you. Hey, you know. But please subscribe to the channel if you like it. That is one of the biggest factors in whether or not I continue the channel. We got a nice surge from the last video that really has to make me consider it. And subscribe, share, click the thumbs up button, make comments, and the notification bell, even though YouTube has a tendency not to send notifications. It may still help me with the algorithm. What is happening with the coaching search? Well, at one point it looked like Colton Hickey was the favorite. He said, I'm staying at Penn State. May not have even done an in-person interview. And then people were saying it's Rich Rodriguez. And of course, when media personalities, Pac-Man Jones and that type say it, doesn't mean anything. Now, people thought Pat McAfee was going to actually announce it on his show. No, that didn't happen. Sure as heck got him a lot of extra viewers. And you have to remember that that is the number 1, 2, and 3 motivation for anything Pat McAfee does on that show, and probably off the show. But people thought, hey, it was a sure thing. And for all we know, the coach has been hired. We don't know. Might be Rodriguez, might not. We do know other people have been interviewed, not just Zoom, and not just necessarily one-time interviews, but we don't know how many. Word has gotten out that Anthony Becht was interviewed. Now, Rocco Becht just announced that he's staying at Iowa State, which makes people say, well, it's unlikely Becht is going to be the head coach at West Virginia. Not a guarantee. I don't really think there was much likelihood that his coaching experience thus far would have been enough to get him the job. Would have had to be one heck of an interview. Now, Chris Anderson at 24/7 Sports has reported that Brian Hartline from Ohio State has done an in-person interview. I wasn't going to mention the name since it is behind a paywall, but I noticed that another media source has already brought it out into the free world. So there it is. But credit 24/7, and I assume the other media person did. I haven't actually watched it at this point. I mean, Hartline had kind of been mentioned, but wasn't really on the hot list. So that jumps him right up into major consideration. Has Monken, the Army coach, done an in-person interview? Nobody knows. Army-Navy game is kind of in the way of things. The Memphis coach is considered one of the candidates. Now, I don't see us announcing hiring him before the bowl game. That would be extra weird, be weird after the bowl game. But can't rule out the possibility. Of course, the expectation that there'll be an announcement, there was chatter about it on Monday, again on Tuesday, again today. Chatter that it will happen tomorrow. But it's just chatter. It is not Wren Baker. And if it doesn't come from Wren Baker, it's not really official. So who else has been interviewed? Are the delays because of getting the contract tightened up, getting agreement on some details, getting other things organized? Is it because the coach has not been decided? Oh, and by the way, you'll probably hear Reggie in the background. She has been in isolation before during some of the videos because she has been getting outside, and when we get her back in, we have to isolate for a while, and she's at the point that she is sick and tired of it, and she will be back in her usual environment today or tomorrow. So don't feel too sorry for her. Now, where was I? I'm right here, same place I was before. Anyway, we don't know who has interviewed, who has not interviewed. General thinking is that the interviews are over, and I expect they are. Now, personally, this hasn't really been discussed, and I think people are just dismissing it. I wouldn't mind if Chad Scott, I think he should have at least gotten an interview. Of course, it's not like he and Wren Baker don't know each other, but I think he should have gotten an interview. He's going to be head coach someplace within the next, 2 or 3 years. Maybe he's ready now. 2 years as OC, don't know. Great success as a running backs coach. Is he ready to move up? Are they waiting for the bowl game to see how he does? I doubt that because, then some of your candidates that you've been putting off might not want the job. So the reality is what we know is that we don't know much. We don't know if the decision has been made. We don't know when it will be announced unless that has come out in the time that I've been doing this interview. And it might be Rich Rodriguez. It might not be Rich Rodriguez. Doesn't likely seem to be Becht. No idea if it's Monken. If it is Monken, what was said about changing offensive style? Brian Hartline, I know the name. I know him from his playing days. I know nothing about him as a coach. And how many other people might there be? Oh my goodness, if you were getting bored, you definitely got things to think about, but not much in the way of substance. So far, all of the claims and news have been more like cotton candy than T-bone steak. So we will continue waiting. Those of us in the official or unofficial media, and I'm as unofficial as you get, we'll keep, paying attention. And of course, we do pay for extra information and then try to get it to you without breaking too many rules. We will let you know what we know, when we know. And of course, I'll let you know what I think just about any time you're willing to listen. Quick note on practicing for the bowl game. Chad Scott has noted that other than the people in the portal, No one is sitting out. Nobody. I mean, that includes Wyatt Milam. He announced weeks ago that he would play in the bowl game. I mean, that says a lot about the players, says a lot about the coaches. They are not giving up on themselves or each other or the season. We only have 5 players in the portal at this point. Now, I mean, some, of course, are waiting to see who the coach is. Regardless, you would have expected more. Only really big name is Josiah Trotter. Really sorry to lose him. Not impossible that he comes back. Of course, would also be up to the new coach to say, fine, come back. But he's getting a lot of interest and probably a lot of financial offers. I think Josiah Jackson, defensive back, is in. Had high hopes for him. His brother is not in, which I find interesting. Bryce Biggs, who never quite came back fully from his injury as far as moving up the depth chart. Good move for him. I mean, he deserves to play. He's not going to get a lot of playing time at West Virginia. Jalen Anderson, same story. And I'm forgetting somebody, and I apologize, but it's not a big player. Now, I recall hearing that Will Dixon was in the portal, but I did not see his name on the on-3 list. But again, this is another thing that says something good about the players believing in the program. All right, guys. I'll talk to you when I know something. Please subscribe. It really helps. I would like to have reason to keep doing this channel. All right. I got things to do to try to prevent Reggie from getting out into the wild again, because I do not need to be getting up 5 times a night checking traps. Okay, so long.